Good morning and welcome here to Battle of the Bands, episode number 11 on Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So, for those of you who haven't seen these Battles of the Masterpiece albums, I'll give you a little bit of a rundown. So, basically, what I'm doing is I have 61 albums that are in my personal masterpiece collection. That doesn't mean they're masterpieces for you, nor does it mean there aren't other albums out there that are masterpieces. These are just the 60 ones that I put in my masterpiece album because I like them. So I decided at one point, I said, you know what, let's do a battle of the bands. I really want to see if the nostalgic albums that I've loved for my whole life are still my favorite albums, or maybe some of these newer ones in the last 5 to 10 years have really come up and taken the mantle. So far, it's been pretty much the way it was in the past, but doesn't mean it will stay that way. So what I did is I took all the masterpiece albums and I put them in 4 stacks of 15 and one stack of 16. And I put the ones I think are my favorite, then my second group, my third group, and my fourth group. And then I rolled the dice and I put them all in their battles, one from each of these stacks, to try and make it a little bit of a playing field here, so that you're not all your good ones are going to be in one battle and then some weak ones going to squeeze through. I didn't want that. Not that there's any weak ones here. I don't want to give that impression but weaker than the other ones. So anyways, that's what I did. We are now at battle number 11. And what I'm going to do is what I always do. I'll show you the albums first. Then I'll talk about the albums and then I'll give you my ranking. So the first album we're going to talk about will be Iron Maiden's The Seventh Son of the Seventh Son, and then Supertramp's Breakfast in America, and Jethro Tull's Songs from the Wood, and the last album in the battle is Born Again from Black Sabbath. So I'm going to actually talk about these in the reverse order since the stack is now completely the opposite way. So the first album is Black Sabbath's Born Again. Yes, I know what you're thinking. That's hideous. And a lot of people looked kind of strange when this album came out. My mother being one of them. She said, "What has become of you? What is that?" I said, "Mom, Rosemary's Baby is out of a job, so she had to find another job to do, so this is what she took." Right? No, I'm just joking around. Basically, I actually kind of don't mind this album cover much. It's kind of grown on me a bit. I know it's diabolical and kind of hideous actually, but I don't mind it. It's passed with me a little bit. So the album itself, very murky. Production's kind of weak. There are spots that are very murky, can't hear much, and other spots that just sound kind of weak at times. But the songs aside are magnificent, among Sabbath's best, I think. I think Ian Gillan's at his best on this album. Screaming probably more on this album than all the other albums he's ever been on combined. Just every song just screeching up a storm. And I think his vocals are really quite good, that the lyrics are good on this. The songs are good. They're well written. Very different than its predecessor, Mob Rules and the Dio era. This is much more, I wouldn't say it's heavier, but it's heavier in a different way. And very different than the original Ozzy. But I think this is actually a little bit more closer to the original Ozzy sound with Black Sabbath as it is with Dio. I think there's a little bit more to that. It's, I think, heavier than the original collections with Ozzy, but not quite as heavy as maybe the Dio-led era. But still, it's got a different element to it. So there are about a half a dozen songs on this album that are absolutely fantastic, and then there's a few that are a little bit weaker than that, but not bad. I don't think there's a bad track on here. So for me, usually initially side 1 was the big side, and then later side 2 was, and probably they're about even now. So it opens up with Trashed, which is really not a kind of a Sabbath song. It's just a really heavy, gritty, smashing song. Gillan's voice is fantastic. The lyrics are kind of funny, a little bit comical, tongue-in-cheek, but an absolutely heavy song. Then it goes to Stonehenge, which is a little piece that leads into Disturbing the Priest very well. Disturbing the Priest, in my opinion, may be the best song on the album. It's heavy, it's menacing, it's gritty, it's beefy. His voice is like menacing. The song itself is just out of hell in some ways, I guess you might want to put it. His vocals are great on this as well. And it's Tony Iommi, as he is on a lot of this album, really forward in the mix. Very heavy riffing, gritty, dark, menacing. The next song out, The Dark, another song that kind of leads into Zero the Hero, which is fantastic. It's melodic, it's heavy, it's doomy as hell. And I think Gillan's voice is great on this as well. And then we flip and we got Digital Bitch first. This is a bit of a different song, probably more in line with Trashed. They're kind of similar. A little bit more on the heavy metal side, a little bit more on the rock and roll side, not as doomy as some of the other stuff. Good song though. The drums on this are fantastic, I think. Then we got Born Again, which is murky, emotional, what's the word? It's out of my mind. Just a heavy song. The guitar is fantastic. It's an emotional track. I would say it's in some ways unhinged. Can't think of the word I want to use now. It's bothering the crap out of me. But super great song. Probably was my favorite song for a while on the album. I still like it a lot. His screaming on this song is absolutely, I think, the best that he's done ever on any song. I love it. Just a fantastic tune. Next song up, Hotline. This is a more up-tempo, faster paced, I guess is a better word. Heavy. I wouldn't call it scary or menacing. It's just a hard rockin' track, and it's the same with Keep It Warm. Keep It Warm's a little bit slower, a little bit more on the murky side. I think this Keep It Warm is probably the closest song on the album to a Deep Purple kind of sound. I think it's because of the lyrics and his voice, the way it goes. Doesn't really sound like a Deep Purple track at all. Definitely a Sabbath track, but if you had to take one of the songs off the album and say which one is closest to Deep Purple, I think it's this one, Keep It Warm. Heavy, just menacing at times. Great album though. Whole album is fantastic. I love it. Next album up, Jethro Tull, Songs from the Wood. Very different album than the last one we just talked about. This one's very folky. Lots of progressive rock here as well. Lots of instrumentation is top of the charts here, I think, for Jethro Tull anyways. The songs are well written. I think Ian Anderson's voice, when I think of Ian Anderson at his best vocals, I think of this album. I love the way in which he sings all the tracks on this album. He just has one of those fantastic voices. I can't describe it. It's not a high-pitched vocal type voice. It's not a smooth voice. It's kind of raspy at times, very folky oriented. I think it's got a bit of a bluesy element to it as well. Definitely does the prog parts really well. And this album, probably from top to bottom, is just, to me, great. Every song is great. I started out liking the first side a lot, and then it kind of the other songs all kind of came up later, but I still like them all. So Songs from the Wood was the one track on the album that I had been familiar with prior to listening to this the first time, because it was on my original Masters album. I thought it's one of his best vocal songs. His voice just is absolutely killer. That's why he's among my favorite singers. Jack and the Green, another really good one. I like some of the think this is the one with a little bit of that harpsichord sound to it. And I don't know if there's harpsichord on this. It could be another form of keyboard that I'm not sure about, but it feels like that. It could be just a piano. Maybe it's just electric piano. That's what I'm thinking, but great. A Cup of Wonder. This was a great riff, great song. Love the flute in this. Absolutely was probably my favorite song initially on the album. The next song out, Hunting Girl, I think is the best track on the album. It's still my favorite. It just pulsates along with lots of great instrumentation. The drums are fantastic on this track. The bass is good. The guitar is really good on this album, on this particular track. I love his vocal performance here. I love the line. The lyrics in it are great. And it just bangs along with a heavy kind of riffing sound going on. Probably maybe the heaviest song on the album. Then you got the Flip It Over. You got Ring It Out, Solstice Bells. At least I think that's where the flip is. No, actually, I think Solstice Bells may have been originally on the first side. I may have gotten that wrong. Great tune, uplifting, a little bit on the heavy side at times. Some great vocal performances here. Just probably one of my top 2 or 3 tracks on this album. Velvet Green's a little bit more folky. His voice is a little more subdued here, but just nevertheless another great tune. The Whistler, of course, the flute song, fantastic. Pip Rock, Cap in Hand. This one's a little heavier than I originally gave it credit for. It's quite a heavy song, and it's the longest track on the album as well. And then you got Fire at Midnight. I think is probably the weakest track, but still really good. Next up, Supertramp's Breakfast in America. Very different from its predecessor. So you got one that's kind of folky, progressive. The instrumentation is high. The other one is real menacing and heavy riffing and metal-like. This one is kind of poppy. Very commercial sounding poppy album. But nevertheless, lots of great stuff on here. Both vocalists are great at the top of their game here. Ricky Davis and Hodgson absolutely killing on this album. I think side 1, I think, is the better side, but not by much. Maybe it's just because it had 2 or 3 songs that were on the radio quite a bit. Gone Hollywood is good. The Logical Song, of course, one of their big tracks off of the album, big hit. Goodbye Stranger, another big hit. Breakfast in America, another big hit. Oh Darling, this is one of the underrated songs on the album that I like quite a bit. If you go to the flip side, you've got Take the Long Way Home, which I think personally is the best track on the album. It's very emotional. It's captivating. The lyrics are great. It draws you in with the lyrics, and the song just can change your mood, actually. Lord, Is It Mine? This was one of my favorite tracks for a long time. Kind of faded a bit. Definitely a great deep cut on the album. Just Another Nervous Wreck. This may be the weakest track on the album. And the next one, Casual Conversations. Both these are okay tracks. I don't dislike them, but I think they're the 2 weakest on the album. And then it ends up with Child of Vision, which is another fantastic track. This album came out in 1979. Massive appeal to the public. Supertramp's Breakfast in America. And last but not least, The Seventh Son of the Seventh Son by Iron Maiden, one of their truly magnificent albums. For a while, I think it might have even surpassed The Number of the Beast as my favorite. Moonchild and Infinite Dreams, it starts out, are both really classic Iron Maiden sounding songs. Can I Play with Madness? That's kind of the big kind of radio-friendly song on the album. I did like that quite a bit initially. That's what drew me in. But like every song that Iron Maiden draws me in with, it ends up not being one of their best. But it's still a good song. The Evil That Men Do. This is probably one of the best, most underrated songs on the album, and definitely one of my favorite by Iron Maiden. Seventh Son of the Seventh Son, great tune. One of the lengthier tunes that they do here. The Prophecy. Yeah, another good tune. Clairvoyant and The Prophecy, very similar. underrated, but really good. And then Only Good Die Young, which is the final track. This is produced by Martin Birch. Great production, great sound. One of Iron Maiden's run of fantastic albums. So the seventh son of the seventh son. So now I got to give you my rating here, don't I? And I did write it down just in case I forgot. And we will look at what I said to see if I've changed my mind since the onset of doing this episode. Sometimes that happens. I've done it once, at least once that I know of here. So obviously the last album, Iron Maiden's Seventh Son, Seventh Son, a great album. I love it, but it hasn't held up as well as the other three, I don't think. Mind you, it hasn't been around as long either. I probably started listening to this in the 90s. So about 30, 35 years now I've been listening to it. Maybe just going through a bit of a phase where it's not doing as well as it once did, or maybe because some of the other new Iron Maiden stuff is really capturing my attention, or not newer, but newer to me. So this will come forth. Number 3, this was a little bit tougher, but I think this one has been around longer. It's kind of a little bit more burned out. Longer for me, not chronologically, not as long as some of the others. But great album. Maybe because it's a little bit commercial, it just didn't held up as well, but definitely good enough to be number 3 here. Number 2, this was a difficult one because I like both these albums quite a bit, but I think this one has to be second, not because the material on it's less than the other one, just that the production and the murkiness of it kind of hurt it a bit, enough that it wouldn't finish in the number 1 spot. So Black Sabbath's Born Again, number 2. And of course, that leaves Jethro Tull's Songs from the Wood, which will be my number 1. This is probably my favorite Tull album, probably. It was a top 10 album of all time for me. I'm thinking it probably still is, but it was a little bit burned out listening to it, but not as much as some of the other ones. So it squeezed in here and will end up being the number 1 and go on to the semifinals. So that's it for today. A battle of the masterpiece albums with Jethro Tull winning with their Songs from the Wood. And we will be back. We'll be back next Saturday with another episode. So please hit the like and subscribe. If you want to make any comments about the 4 albums, you can. Or anything I said, maybe you want to add to it or you want to take away from it, that's fine too. Anyways, you can do that in the comment section below, and we will see you next Saturday for another battle of the masterpiece albums. Take care and goodbye.